Good afternoon. Welcome to our IRC tag meeting for February 10th. Angela, are you online and want to take us away?
Mm, oh, yeah, different camera. Just a minute. Oh, yeah, not the inside of my laptop. Okay. Let's see where we at. Okay. I guess let's start with roll call.
Angela Hopt, Dan Young,
Here.
Jen E. Luke. Not seeing online. Quinn Tai.
Here.
Thank you. Patrick Hanks.
Here.
Thank you. Ron Perkowicz. Not seeing online. Ken Brulette.
Present.
Thank you. Josh Mergens.
Here.
Thank you. Barry Kurth. Not seeing online. Justin Crovalho. Not seeing online. Mariko Blessing.
Here.
Thank you. Jonathan Jones. I see you as a guest. Jonathan, I'll come back to you. Leah Summer. Not seeing online. Jonathan Jones.
Aha, now that it made me come in the other way. I am here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Annie O'Rourke.
Here.
Thank you. With that, we have a quorum.
All right. And is there anyone from the public that would like to introduce themselves or be recognized? Okay. Elizabeth?
You with Cascade Natural Gas. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so we'll move. Oh, Martin.
Yes, Martin Hammer, architect. I attended the previous meeting 2 weeks ago.
David.
Yeah, David Eisenberg, Development Center for Appropriate Technology, and I also attended that meeting.
Okay, and Anthony.
Anthony Dente with Verdant Structural Engineers. I was also in the previous meeting and here to answer any structural subjects relating to the appendice adoptions.
All right. Now, seeing no further hands raised, we'll move on to item 2, review and approve the agenda. Oh, sorry,
One more
Ashley.
hand popped up.
Ashley.
Sorry about that. Ashley Stallworth with the USHBA as well as the Minority Hemp Builders Association.
Okay. All right, going once, going twice. All right, we're done. Okay, now number 2, review and approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
This is Quinn. I'll second it.
All right. Do we have any discussion on the agenda as shown on the screen? All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? All right. The agenda is approved as shown. Now we'll move on to number 3, review and approve the agenda from last meeting, which was January 27th.
It's the minutes.
I mean minutes, sorry.
No sweat. And that's the end of those.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on or additions or changes to the minutes as shown? All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes as shown signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed? All right. That motion passes also. So we will move to number 4 in the agenda, I believe. Yep. All right.
Right. So at the last meeting, we discussed a appendix or a proposal that got missed by staff during the Group 1 window. It's an IRC proposal that should have been included in the Group 2 bunch. We had some good discussion at the last meeting, and we needed some revisions to make these appendices fit the character of Washington. Of note that I was worked out with Krista before sending this one out to the proponents was getting correct energy code references in here. So we have here our all 4 appendices in text format on the attachments for today's meeting. On the left is the R1 version that is posted. On the right, I have some additional edits beyond the energy code references by Martin Hammer, and his are highlighted in blue. They were uploaded today for the meeting. But first, I'll run through the energy code references and also these changes here to the user note. The original proposal said to strike the user note that says it's not mandatory unless specifically referenced in the adopting ordinance. And it's my understanding that we are trying to get these adopted statewide so that they can be used across jurisdictions. So I have made this modification to the user note there, not the user note, but the provisions contained are adopted in the state of Washington. Moving through here, the changes that I've been drafted in here are drafted in yellow. We have section BI 104 thermal performance. Got with Krista on these to identify the appropriate energy code references. And so you'll see those changes there and underline and strikeout. And one thing to note is I got a comment here from Krista. The residential energy code table don't contain a value for mass walls, so they're required to meet the above grade U factor from the table 402.1.2. And so it changes from the R value requirements to U factor requirements in accordance with the state energy code. And then those changes are made through the other sections as well because they are very similarly written to reference the same tables. We have Appendix BJ, the adopting ordinance statements changed there. We also, with some additional discussion with the proponents and with Krista, identified that the climate zones 6, 7, and 8 do not belong in this appendix because in Washington we have zone 5 and zone 4. And I believe it's 4C and 5B is what it would be in the tables for these climate zones. So striking those other ones that aren't applicable just makes this more composed for Washington State. We have some other climate zone changes here and try to catch all these. Another appendix, the BK Cobb, the adopting ordinance statements changed. Then we have the other climate zone 5B noted at the table. This is just aligned with the Washington State Energy Code. And there's not too much more in here. There's a couple more highlighted sections just showing the same types of changes there. And we're into the hempcrete appendix now. Yeah, the climate zone change, the mass walls change. I believe that's the last change that I was able to draft into here. And so along with this, we have, in response to some of the comments heard at the last meeting, changes drafted into this version in addition to these energy code changes. And I'd like to maybe turn it over to Martin Hammer to discuss these. And Martin, if you like, I can promote you over if you want to share any sort of screen. I have this document that I have on screen on the right-hand side, and I also have the ICC code change proposal RB 291, two different versions. And if you want to present those, I'd be happy to pull them up for you as well.
If you could pull those up, that would be great, and I can.
Yeah. You want to start off with those?
Sure.
All right. Well, you want to go with the comment 3-5 one or the final?
Oh, for you're talking about the ICC
Yeah.
document.
So how about I pull down this one? I'll just make this screen dedicated to what we got going on. So this is Martin's updates in addition to what I was just showing. They'll be highlighted in turquoise. And then I have the ICC code change proposals here on the right-hand side. So if I'm ready to show any of them, would you like me to scroll down to the first change you have in your proposal document?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, yeah, between Dustin and I forget the person you mentioned from regarding energy code, and myself with my colleagues, we've in combination, I think, addressed all the issues that were both discussed in the last meeting 2 weeks ago, and that reflect differences or make the document, the code language compatible with Washington State's codes and conditions. So, as Dustin mentioned, I submitted a document with proposed changes in turquoise. And before I go through them one by one, I'll just say that they fit into a couple of categories. So one is well, this one you see is the first one. Each of the four appendices now has a special inspections section. We discussed that last meeting. And then the others that all just in terms of category, we added the hemp lime tested fire resistance rated assemblies that were tested and were recently approved in the ICC code development process. And then there were a couple locations where the International Residential Code or International Building Code are referenced in the IRC appendix, and I changed international to Washington State. So anyway, this is the first example of a special inspection, a new section for Washington State regarding special inspections, that the building official has the authority to require the owner to employ a special inspector during construction of types of work described in the appendix. And that language, I think this was discussed specifically in the last meeting as well, that language is verbatim what is currently in the manufactured housing appendix. And I think there was consensus that language worked well for everyone. So Dustin, you can keep scrolling. And actually, if you can back up just one moment here to the figure, the straw bale figure, because I just want to bring this up while we're there. I noticed in the document, Dustin, that you sent us, the figures have colors to them, colors and or texture, which is great in general. But I noticed that the straw bale wall systems figure, this one in front of us, shows the straw bales in like a terracotta color, more appropriate to brick, and it has these circles on the top of the bales that are more akin to hollow masonry, hollow concrete block. So that's just something that, assuming this goes forward, it would be nice to have that, I'll say, corrected. Both the colors should be more of a straw color, and maybe more importantly, they look like large conventional masonry, unit masonry elements. So I'm just noting that.
Gotcha.
But then we
So
can,
I pulled these figures straight from the ICC website, and all the colors and everything come from their images.
oh,
And so I might be able to get something worked in there, but it'll take some resources I maybe don't have at my disposal right now to really edit that picture to maybe represent a straw bale in construction form.
okay. Well, thanks for letting me know that. I didn't know it was on ICC's end, so I'll have to look into that more. Well, I'll look into that further myself. Okay, so anyway, and a bit of an aside, but if you can keep scrolling.
Yeah, one moment. Let me take a note on this as well for my records here. All righty. I mean, if they look more like that.
Yes. And
There's
okay,
the
here's
next
another
special
special.
inspection section.
Exactly.
I'm
Can
going to
you,
keep on
and
rolling.
yes, keep on going. Yes, please. Okay,
It's a Washington State change.
yeah, there's an example of changing international to Washington State. And another one similar. Another special inspection section. International to Washington State, same thing. One more. And if you can go back to the beginning of the hemp lime section, thank you. While we're here as well, I just wanted to say that well, I know at least I've discussed this with David Eisenberg, but I think all of us, but I definitely appreciate the language that you're proposing here. I wish State of California would use the same. We've had some difficulties with them not being so clear as this is. But I just wanted to comment on that, that I think this is just perfect way to say what you're trying to convey to the code user. So thank you for that. And you can keep scrolling, please. Uh, Again, the special inspection section. Okay, now here is the certainly by far the most the largest amount of code language, and this is what was recently approved in the ICC code development process. Um, the current IRC, well, you can see the difference between, especially in the first section where it says hemp lime walls do not have a fire resistance rating. Uh, but now with the recent approval, they do, at least this is will be in the 2027 IRC. And I appreciate the groups, the tag's willingness to take this language, this approved language that reflects recent testing in the last year or two that was done on 3 hemp lime wall assemblies. All of them performed very well and achieved a 1-hour fire resistance rating. So, and that's what this language in turquoise here reflects, those 3 assemblies.
And I think that's the last change you have in this document, correct?
Yes.
I guess to the tag, is there any sections you'd like to discuss? I feel like the one we have on screen probably might garner the most, but Quinn?
Yeah, so I have one comment and one question. The comment is that the proposal at the ICC level hasn't been approved yet. So that's just a simple correction on the statement because the April is going to be the public comment hearing. It did pass the committee action hearing number two, but it hasn't passed the public comment yet. So that's just a minor correction. My question is on section BL 105.1.1 under item number two for the spray applied. My question is on the inside or outside? Because typically in 302.1, the requirements for a rated wall would be it's protected on both sides. So I'm curious if this test was done on the exterior, interior, or both. Question for Martin.
Oh, okay. So Quinn, 2 points. First, to your first point, um, it was approved, but in the committee, the second committee action hearing. So I should have qualified that. Approved was the right word, but it hasn't been approved at that final step, which typically, well, the final step is in a couple months in April at the ICC hearings in Connecticut. Approval, this is consistent, I think, and I can't think of one case that's different than this, but in my experience for over the last 15 years with the ICC process, any code proposal that was approved in the committee action hearing, they're all put together at the public comment hearing, which is the final one, and they go into a consent agenda where they're all approved in that final step as a block. So you are correct that it hasn't quite gotten past that first hurdle, but I just want to say that in my experience, without exception, anything that's been approved, and is the right term here, approved at the committee action hearing, goes into the final step or hearing with virtual, I'm going to call it an automatic approval. So I just want to kind of fill out that description a little bit. Now, to the question regarding the spray applied and the testing, spray applied for hemp lime is the method is to spray apply the material against formwork of the on one side of the framed wall. And that ultimately, as the material cures and hardens, that formwork is pulled away. So the material, the hemp lime material, is up against both the interior, or it's continuous from the interior to the exterior face. So and sometimes that formwork is on the outside of the framing, sometimes it's on the inside, but ultimately it's not relevant because once the formwork is stripped away, the material is again fully from exterior face to interior face. I don't know if that answers your question.
I did see some hands pop up in the attendees list, but they're down now. It sounds like the questions were answered.
Yeah,
Anyway,
let me real quickly, Martin. The reason I corrected that is because this meeting is being recorded and it's an official meeting. So I just want to make it clear on the record that, it's just a correction in the statement. That's it. It wasn't that I was, saying that it's not going to get approved or anything. It just hasn't been approved yet.
Fully, yes. No, I agree, and I appreciate that your comment and allowing us to all to clarify the reality of it.
no. Patrick.
Yeah, I think One other thing that we brought up last meeting is I don't know if we want to do this individually for each appendix, but if we move forward approving them, we'll need to edit WAC 5151003, which is the chapter 1 part of the state IRC that has what appendices we've adopted.
Correct.
So I don't know if we want to include that in each individual proposal, if we just want to direct staff to also include that in a final motion if we proceed with these.
I'm happy to bring it in as we get to the end of this one. I can pull the language over and keep it in and put it in the draft as well. Annie.
Just want to circle back around to seismic design categories. And as I understand it, the light straw clay and the hemp lime are non-structural, so whatever system works is what system works. Straw bale specifically applies to A through D2, and cob applies to A through C seismic design category. What are we doing about those silent seismic design categories? Is there just an assumption that there's going to be an engineer doing it, or are they simply not allowed in those zones?
This is Anthony with Verdant Structural Engineers. It's cited that an approved engineered design is required, and if that approved engineered design which kicks you into the IBC, and so if that is an alternative submission, that person would need to go through IBC 10411 alternative submission for that. But if it's a code compliance system they're using, say moment frame or brace frame, then obviously an alternative submission would not be required. But an IBC approved engineered design is required, and that's cited for all of them. So there is not a unspoken category that doesn't relate to that.
Okay, thank you. I did notice that the wall panel types in the straw bale and the cob are actually A through E, which can be a little confusing because our seismic design categories are A through E as well.
We need more systems for variables. I agree. It's not ideal.
Any more comments, questions from the tag to the proponents?
So this is a good screen to look at, Dustin. In BI 101.1, it just talks about the use of light straw clay in seismic design categories C, D0, D1, and D2 shall require an approved engineered design. To me, it's silent on E unless it's somewhere in this section.
If we can make a statement that this I believe there was discussion last meeting, and I meant to follow up on this. Previously, the IRC did not apply to E, and so the code as a whole is silent on E. But I believe there are some allotments for that now, and we could either put E at the end of here or just it's kind of like no matter what we say, it's the same thing. This is the use of language in the code here saying approved engineered design. An approved engineered design following the rules of the IBC permits, well, anything that you can follow the rules of the IBC for. So this is mostly just allowing people who don't quite understand the process to see that they can still take that avenue. But again, like if it's an alternative form they're using, it would need to apply to IBC by going 10411, which would get scrutinized as would be appropriately so. But So just in general, if since the IRC previously didn't apply to this, I think the silentness was a code-wide silentness. Um, though we could either write E right at the end of D2 or state that structural components in this code do not pertain to E. But again, it would be kind of the same as what we're saying about C, D naught, D1, and D2, technically.
Quinn?
I would say I'll pass. I'll let the others talk about this one because what I'm going to ask is something totally different.
All
So,
right,
Josh.
Yeah, I just want to point out, and I was surprised to discover this in the last meeting. I had overlooked it before, but the IRC 2024 will include E now. So I totally agree with why this probably doesn't have E, because historically there wasn't E in IRC. And I think I spoke to that last time saying, hey, there is no E in IRC, but there is going to be an E now. So I could see a reasonable I could see a reason to put E in this list now, knowing that this appendix maybe wasn't coordinated with the new IRC just because appendices are lower on the list. I also agree that I think it doesn't necessarily restrict it, but I see how it can be confusing that we now have a seismic design category E. My suggestion would be to include E because we're still saying the same thing. It requires an engineer design, full stop. But I just thought I'd throw that out there because that is a shift in a lot of the structural engineers' heads to get used to the idea that IRC has a seismic design category E, which I also was not expecting.
Is it possible to just simply move that and to after the D2 and write E?
Yes. And then I'm assuming that there's other locations in this document where this same change needs to be made.
Yes, and I can find those right now if we want to move on to the other question.
Uh, Angela,
I just had a question. So seismic category E is being introduced in the 27 code, correct? But we're bringing it into the 24, is that right? Or did it actually come in the
It's
24
it's
24.
code?
it's coming in 2024, and Washington State does have a couple areas. The other parts of the code allow them to build, I think, to D2 if they do certain things, but it's probably better if we just clarify in here. We just include
No,
E.
that's what I was wondering was changes were made to this appendix for the 27 code by these proponents, but they didn't change this or vet E going through this. So I just was curious why, if they were already making changes, they didn't also actually make that change and get it vetted at the national level. But that's just
I
a question.
I don't think it comes up very much because most of the country doesn't have E. It's just us where it's like, we care about this because it affects us.
Also, Angela, that the maybe the more important thing is that there's no vetting required to write E after this because it's essentially saying that you need to get an independent engineering design on this. So it's not approving any structural applications of these appendices for use. In fact, it's explicitly saying you can't. You need an approved engineered design and can't use the tables, the structural tables below for E. So no vetting required. BJ 1052 is BJ's version of this category. And it's item 4. And since you're in BK 1052, it's the number as well, and it's item 3. Here, it's actually more simple. I don't know if we actually need to address it here because it simply says with an approved, like everywhere else is an approved engineered design. But if it's preferred by the TAC here, we could just simply use the same language. I hadn't actually realized that there was slightly different approaches to saying the same thing between these appendices until this conversation. Does anyone care about leaving item 3 just simply as it is versus listing out?
I mean, it makes sense the way it is to me. I think that just comes down to making sure that people are trained and understand that what it means. You can probably just go, Joshua. I think Dustin's editing the document and
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Angela's not watching.
I was just gonna say the one thing that seemed a little different, unless I'm not quite tracking right, but in the comp houses, there were some prescriptive standards for A through C. So I think that language makes sense because I was saying we are allowed A through C, or you need an engineer, whereas I believe the last one was any of these categories, you need an engineer, period. So I think that the comp house made sense. I was just voicing my support for that.
Thanks. Yeah, and you found
Martin, did you have something?
Yes, a few things. First of all, I concur with this approach that we're doing right now. I think this is the right solution, and I did verify for myself that category E is in the 2004 IRC. I mean, not which was published more than a year ago. So, and then if in BJ, if you can go back, well, we have it for BI. In BJ, there was one more change where E is needed. You need to insert E, I think, or I might be losing track here. Hold on a second. Okay, so well, BJ, it sounds like we're in agreement that the way it's worded, we don't need to call out E or
that was
or
BK, Martin.
okay, we were in no, but I mean I'm just wanting to clarify for myself even in BJ 102, the way that was worded, it sounds like we're in agreement that there's no reason. Yep, you had it right there.
Well, that was 105.2. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
he
105.2.
misspoke there. Yeah. And this is right.
Okay, yeah, it needs to go there. And there you have it. Okay, that's great. And then we were last in BK. Is that right, Anthony?
I think they're all addressed. I think I watched him do BL 1011. We all looked at BK 1052 and decided the change wasn't necessary. We were just in BJ 1052 and we started in light straw clay. BL 1011.
Okay, there was one where we were that had different seismic design categories for 1 and 2 family dwellings versus townhouses. That's the one I'm trying to get to.
Okay, I'll find it here.
In the meantime, Micah, did you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks. I do want to get something clarified for the record, especially when it comes to the scoping of these individual items for structural design. There's been several comments that says if you're not meeting the prescriptive approach here in the appendix, that it's going to trigger structural design per the IBC, and that is not the case. It sends you to R301.1.3. In there, it doesn't automatically trigger that IBC structural design, which is more robust. It says that is permitted in these instances where these designs exceed the scoping of the IRC, but it says that once it does, it needs to be done per accepted engineering practices, but it does not trigger the more robust IBC structural design. So that may need to be corrected, and that may need to be specified in these appendices or in R301.1.3. That if you're doing this and you're, yes, we're getting some accepted design criteria, but I think your intent here is to not have an alternate means and methods, which you would have to go through. The intent here is to use these appendices and the residential code. Again, it's not a requirement that we trigger IBC structural design, not even in 301.1.3. That's permitted and optional. So I think we're missing or something. There's going to be a gap here in the intent of what we're trying to accomplish with these appendices. Thanks.
This is Martin. If I can jump in, and Anthony, feel free to after I say what I do. But I think Mika's correct about that. That with the wording, the code language, you can see an example of it in 105.2, item 3, where it says except with an approved engineered design, and the wording in the other appendices is consistent with that generally. I think either exactly this language, approved engineered design, or similar. The approved word approved may or may not be in each one of them. I'm not sure, but so that's well, the term engineered design, although it's not a defined term, that is the title of the section that Mika referred to, R301. I'm forgetting the numbers now, but it's 301.1.2, I believe. So engine, that's I even though it's not a defined term, I think that's where plan check engineers would go, or building or design professionals would go to that section of engineer design, which, as was just described, it doesn't require one to go to the IBC or the state, or in this case the Washington State Building Code, but it says that that's one path that one can take. So it's a little fuzzy, and I don't know if we want more clarity here or not, or if we want to leave it intentionally a bit open, so that the building official would be the building official's judgment. Do they approve an engineer design that's submitted to them on its own terms? Do they go to the engineer design section in the IRC, which then could take one to the IBC? I think if we leave it as it is, which I'm not, I don't think I'm opposed that. We are saying that the local building official, there's some judgment involved here, which
is Martin. First I want to ask if there is a problem at hand that we want to fix before we maybe talk about this any longer. And secondarily, it does strike me that the problem might be with R301.1.3 in the body of the code, and it might be helpful for us if the person sharing screen is able to pull up that section of the building code.
Anthony, I appreciate that. That's where I was getting to, is I think that section is being used for justification for changes, but the justification stated doesn't meet the code language, or the code language doesn't meet that justification. I believe that was in relation to end questions on some structural design for specific seismic criteria. So I think you're right on there. There may need to be some type of modification in the R301.1.3.
I actually thank you for that. Looking at this now, the final sentence of this so it is engineered design is the title, so that is the term being used in these appendices. And the final sentence of this, which is getting in, thank you for the person doing the screen sharing. But it says engineered design in accordance with the International Building Code is permitted for buildings and structures and parts thereof. So it does point you to that.
Yes, it does, but it's not the automatic trigger that was indicated for some of the justification when I was listening to testimony. And again, if it's not relevant to other people, I'll stop talking about it. But that was what I was hearing, that you're automatically going to get that IBC structural design when that is not the case. That is an option. It's not a requirement. So I want to make sure that's clear for the structural designers that are questioning this or having concerns, or some of the code officials.
Yeah, I think the intent was to use the defined term here of RO 30113, but I hear your point.
Quinn?
So one of the things I saw earlier, and this is what I tried to mention in our last meeting, is before we start putting like seismic E and additional new text, that be careful that we might not break the code. Because earlier I saw that you guys added E to BJ 105.2, but that whole section references the table 602 on the for the tables for the type of brace walls and stuff like that. The problem is the tables in 602 is only up to seismic design category D2, um, especially when you're talking about the factors, right? So there's additional tables that are not referenced, but there are factors. There's like for D2s, you got a factor of 1.2 or 1.4, depending on the total length. So I mean, by adding E, then you're going to confuse, okay, which factors do we start using as well? So that's a question for the structural engineers. But again, chapter 6 only goes up to D2.
Okay, in this one case, thank you for bringing that. And this is of all the things we've looked at and considered E heading to, this is the unique case in which we're adding a 60% increase and shall be increased by 60% for buildings in D1, and we probably should say, and not, and I mean, you could say with approved engineer design elsewhere, but either say and yeah,
Well,
you
that
put
60% is based on that table, right? Which is your base table. And then the table after that is your factor. So let's say the table says 10 feet, right? And then the factor of 1.2. But now this 60% is based on that initial base table of 10 feet. It doesn't include the factors. Do you get what I'm saying?
yes, but the bigger point here is that the table doesn't contain E.
Correct.
Yeah, and so it would one approach is we could take the same approach we took elsewhere, whereas like the other seismic tables for BK didn't contain E, so we said, and you need an approved engineer design for this, and we could write that right here. But it
So
is
yeah,
appropriate that this would not hold E because you couldn't do it. Uh, like you said, break the code. There is no E for you to add 60% to.
correct. Yeah, because it's referencing a table that has no E.
Yeah, this is Martin. I think it's a really good point, Quinn. I appreciate you bringing it up, and I agree with what Anthony said a moment ago. Is that of these various places where we're looking at inserting E, I believe this is the only place where it's not appropriate.
Or maybe we just write or comma D not comma or with an approved engineered design in E. And it's carrying the same philosophy that we've had taken for the others.
Anthony, I'm trying to remember, is there another place where we've just changed it that already requires an approved engineer design for E in BJ? Apart from this, I'm not.
Finding the answer to your question. Hold on. Yes, BJ 1052, which is where we're at.
Just a suggestion, and I'll just jump in because I'm rude. I think if you just included that information in the scoping of the appendix, that it would cover any areas where E is not included in the list. That would be acceptable to me and maybe others, but I think that would cover, and you wouldn't have to identify it in every location. Thanks.
There isn't another location in BJ, Martin. And that's suggestion sounded reason why I might need to hear it again.
If you're, my suggestion was if it's covered under the scoping sections, in other words, the first couple of sections of your appendices, and I'm not sure if it's in this one. I'm sorry, I don't have all the documents up, and I'm not sure if all of them are on here in this version. But if the seismic design categories are covered in the prescriptive approach, or if there's information that says if it's not here in this appendices, not in this code, again, this may be the only one you may need to add language to for E that's outside of the scoping somewhere. But that was just a suggestion.
It is interesting. In this case in particular, it's saying like use these tables, and it doesn't say what to do in E. But I feel that throughout the code there must be tables that address size design categories and don't go up to the whole way to E, or sections that don't go up the whole way to E. That this I would be surprised if there wasn't a precedent for, like, well, if we don't say E, you just can't use this section for it. But I respect the opinions of being worried about silentness. But I would imagine that code in general has a silent problem.
This is Martin again. My instinct on this is to say something about E wherever the other seismic design categories are mentioned. Otherwise, I'm afraid it would get lost with someone not knowing it's the E issue is elsewhere.
Josh has his hand up as soon as I mentioned it, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what some folks are saying, and I think a lot of this is valuable. But my interpretation and the interpretation I've seen of every structural engineer I've ever worked with, every plans examiner I've coordinated with, and everything I've ever done was if it's not in the IRC, then you can't do it prescriptive. Full stop. That's how I've always interpreted that 301.2 or 3, whichever it is. And it doesn't say you automatically get IBC. That's absolutely correct. It says an approved design or IBC. Well, if you're going to get an approved design anywhere else, it's an alternative means of submittal through the IBC. I've never, I work across 7 states. I've never encountered a building official that was like, oh, go ahead and use the code you choose if it's approved. We all clearly understand the limits of the IRC, the limits of the IBC. Some of the language, there may be avenues which you can interpret certain ways, but that's where I think it becomes important that building officials have the, was it section 104.1 in IBC that says they're allowed to render interpretations within the intent of the code. I think that's exactly what that is intended for when we have these odd gaps. I'd be hard pressed to believe anyone could conclude or convince a building department that, oh no, even though it doesn't say E, E must be allowed. Or because it says E and it's not in the table, well, we must just make up a new factor. Or, well, technically it doesn't say we have to use IBC, therefore we can still use things that don't exist in the IRC. I think it's a valiant effort, but I just wanted to point out how kind of fringe some of these cases may be, and just hearing every structural engineer in the call speaking, and it all seems really, really clear based on all of our experiences what's being asked here. And I would say I would be very surprised if I tried to bring a different justification to any of the building departments I work with, again, across quite a few states. It just, I can't see flying saying, no, I'm going to use whatever code I want. So while I do think some of these semantic things are important, I would maybe suggest we focus a little more of our time on bigger items, because I don't see these scenarios playing out in these ways. And if somebody submitting, we're trying to play it out in that way, I think every building official, plans examiner has really good grounds to push back on that based on their interpretations of the code. Thank you.
And Josh, just to respond to that, I think especially with BJ, the intent of this appendix is to be prescriptive, and that includes structural. And so that's why I feel like I'm really hesitant to, at least for BJ alone, to say that it's okay prescriptively if we're adding more and more stuff to it when the rest of the code doesn't even address it. And that's what I meant earlier by, like, we don't want to break the code by adding additional information, prescriptive requirement,
And I'm speaking to the entire conversation as a whole here. So
Yeah.
on that particular issue, sure, again, for somebody to then go, well, hey, it says we can use E, but I have no other data to use E, therefore I'm just going to use D2. I just don't see how that quite gets there. I agree that there's gaps in here, and I agree that if we're dissecting it, we can find those and we should try to get rid of those where we can. I'm just maybe suggesting, since we've already tabled this once, that it feels like we're adding things for clarification, and then our clarifications have made things unclear. So then we're trying to clarify the clarifications, and the general advice I've been given is you don't add clarifications to the code because the codes kind of cover it. If it's not included, it's not included. So I'm wanting us to maybe take a step back, zoom back a little, and make sure this is the most productive use of where we're going from here. I think some of it's got a really good point. I'm just trying to see the code path and scenario to get to the end that we're concerned about, short of maybe the code could be a little confusing in some areas. I don't see what we're dealing with right now being the difference between safe and unsafe structural designs.
It seemed like it would be aligned with Joshua's comments to just remove E from that list, which is clearly in BJ here, which is clearly identifying directing you to a table that doesn't contain E, and then letting what he spoke as an obvious factor of like, well, yeah, E is not included in here.
And I do think it would be
Micah?
best to remove the E.
Thanks, Dustin. Josh, I appreciate your comments there. I think what we're trying to allude here is trying to get these to where they can be consistently enforced by code officials across the state. There's a reason these are in appendices at the national level, because these discussions come up and they go, well, we can't figure all this all out. Let's put it in an appendix because it doesn't function as the main body of the code, but it can be used as a starting point for folks. But what we're doing at this point with the proposal is we're saying these are equivalent to prescriptive code. So I think that exactly where Quinn is going is this is the equivalent or comparable to prescriptive code path as the rest of the IRC. And that's not the case at the national level. They're an appendix in the appendices for a reason, not the main body of the code for other reasons. A lot of that is what we're discussing here. So I think that's what we're trying to get to, is some equivalency for prescriptive path and consistent application without a bunch of questions and concerns. And I think the intent is to have this as prescriptive so we don't have to go through an alternate means and methods path, even if it's in standard code language. And that's my understanding of what we're trying to do here. If we don't want to go through this process of identifying all these issues, then maybe these should remain as appendices for the entire state that individual jurisdictions can adopt and address those questions inconsistently. Thanks.
And Micah, just to respond to that, totally understand what you're saying, where you're coming from. I think my only suggestion is we are getting very, very, very deep into some really, really specific weeds that are going to affect 1 in 5,000 projects or something. I definitely want to go for accuracy. What I'm suggesting is maybe before we run out of time on the meeting, we make sure we address other issues than specifically just where E is or isn't. I think it's a valiant effort. I think it's something that we should do. I think the code does make pretty clear where things are omitted that we can't use it. And if this is the only topic left, then by all means, let's discuss it. But we have a whole other proposal that we haven't discussed from the last meeting. And I want to make sure we didn't get too caught up into semantics that could be easily handled at a jurisdiction level. Again, I hear you talk from the jurisdiction side. My side, on the design side, these just don't really seem like challenges in accomplishing the job. And my personal experience is the building departments would have no problem handling something like this. It just doesn't seem like the hardest thing. If this is the last thing we have and that's what we want to put our time into, I think that's great. I'm just voicing the concern that we may be, not seeing the forest. Well, you get my point. I think we're getting a little too zoomed
No,
in.
I agree with you totally. And getting on time is a big thing. I think what you point out is this could be a 1 in 5,000 project. And I guess that's why I'm questioning why it needs to be across the entire state without just being individual ordinance related things.
The one thing I would share that I think is beneficial for that is, in my experience, actually having done these before, which I've probably over 5,000 projects now, so it still lands in the 1 in 5,000 range. But what happens when you don't have anything is it goes totally cowboy. It's just kind of up to what anyone can come up with, and having something is going to be so much better than nothing. So I would push back on the idea of having just individual jurisdictions, because in my experience, when these things were available, uh, it wasn't used as appropriately, and I think it would be better for our infrastructure to have something there. But it sounds like we're kind of saying the same thing. I just want to discuss from the engineer's side that it seems pretty darn cut and dry with how we applied the rest of the code, how this specific situation would come up. But I hear your point for sure.
I think this is a pretty easy solution to move on from this subject. We identified that table R6, and thank you all for those comments, but just in an attempt to make a quick solution here, table R602.10.3 does not contain size design category E, so it would not be right to have an and E here, and we should remove that to the way it was originally. And I believe, appropriate solution would be in following with the approach to the other appendices that we would then write and with an approved engineered design for seismic design category E. Um, either, I guess maybe it's another sentence, or think about the language of that. But that would just be the simple, that's what we've done for everything else. Like if it's not addressed in here, we say with an approved engineered design if it's a category that hasn't been listed yet.
Glenn?
Yeah, so I have two things. More of a generic comment about this whole process. When we're dealing with the IRC, the reason I think why, like for someone like me, who's representing a jurisdiction, that IRC is very difficult to modify from a local jurisdiction level. We always have to go through this process of the State Building Code Council to make any kind of changes. Keeping it as an appendix to me makes perfect sense for local jurisdictions to manipulate whatever they want to do. So that's just an overall comment for this process. So yeah, I agree with this particular change to keep it the way it was earlier, like you're showing on the screen right now. My question I had earlier is going back to the fire rating, with that whole checklist of spray foam, things like that. Has that been tested to ASTM E119 and UL 263? Is that a tested
Yes.
procedure?
Yeah,
Okay,
all the fire ratings have been ASTM E119, and
got it. Okay,
And
that's all I need to know.
and this is Martin, if I can, um, in the interest of uh, reaching completion and in an acceptable manner, I think I personally am okay with being silent on E for beach A and adding E to the others as we talked about. But I also, in the bigger picture, because this has been mentioned a couple times in the last few minutes here, I want to really um, encourage us all to approve these or to adopt these appendices. I think not adopting them is, I mean, notwithstanding some of the issues that we've talked about, I think we're correcting most, if not all of them. I think not adopting them causes more problems than adopting them. And this is, reasons for that have been described a little bit here. But there's definitely a perception at the minimum that the appendices in the IRC are not as well developed as the body of the code. But these appendices have been very well developed, relying on text testing. Some of them have been in the IRC for what is it, 10 or more years now, and being used in some states as adopted into essentially into the body of the code. And we've even talked about bringing them into the body of the code, and I think they're to that point now, but there are other reasons to not bring them in that I don't need to elaborate on at the moment, about keeping them kind of intact as a group in the appendices. But anyway, just wanted to again make a or encourage their adoption. I just think that all things considered, certainly from my perspective, that's the right decision to make.
Joshua?
Yeah, just wanted to echo support for everything Martin just said. I think that's very, very true. I really think it would be better to have them adopted. There was a point brought up about adopting at the local level, and they're allowed to make changes, which can be more convenient for them. I recognize that, but each jurisdiction only has to worry about their jurisdiction, whereas each practicing engineer has to worry about all of the jurisdictions. And I think it does make a more challenging and less consistent environment when every city and county has a different set of rules. So I really think at least having these at the state level, as everything Martin just said, will get some more consistency, and where individual jurisdictions need to make some adjustments. I know there can be some challenges in it, but there's lots of ways that they're able to interpret it. And again, in my personal experience as a designer for the last 14 years, I just don't really see this as something that's cornering building departments in any way that they wouldn't immediately push back on and take care of it. So I'm not on that side. I'm sure there's challenges that I don't see, but I just want people to consider, if every jurisdiction has a different set of rules, the burden that puts on the people doing the building, the developers, the designers, the contractors, the small business industry. I definitely don't want to see us going somewhere where we say every county and city has its own rules. I think that's a big detriment to our local industry. Thank you.
Okay, did we have anything else to discuss on these proposals?
Micah's got his hand up.
Micah?
Thanks for recognizing me again. If you all are getting ready to vote on these or put some motion forward, I do want to speak as a member of the public on this, that Quinn mentioned it as well. Jurisdictions are not allowed to modify these. Home rule state, there's no enabling legislation. We'd have to get approval from the SBCC. So there won't be changes to these. And that's a reason, we talk about rules for each jurisdiction. It wouldn't necessarily that we'd have rules if each jurisdiction adopted these. If they just stayed as appendices, where if they're adopted by ordinance, they could be used, you'd still have that framework. It wouldn't be that those individual jurisdictions are creating new rules for this. This would be creating rules for everyone, and they would have to be used and applied without modification, unless that modification is approved by the SBCC. That's what the RCW state. So again, it's not that we're cowboying here. We wouldn't be allowed. What I'm finding as well is there are very few, if any, states that adopt these appendices outside the straw bale appendices. So again, what makes it special as a need for the entire state of Washington to adopt these appendices? Again, they can be used and adopted now, but now we're forcing jurisdictions to have these and enforce these if they're used as written, without the ability to modify. Yes, you can interpret, but even that's limited. So again, I ask you to evaluate that thoroughly, and question why other states haven't adopted these in whole, and why they're not a part of the main body of the codes at the national level. Thanks.
I'll just share again from our personal experience of the complications of the burden carried by citizens that are trying to make it easier for the people in the public that want to build with these. Those of us that are design professionals that have been had the tools and licensure and ability to update these codes, it's been on our shoulders to coordinate with every individual state, and each state has a different timeline, different agencies, some of the multiple agencies that collaborate in order to make these changes happen. And it has personally been very, very frustrating and difficult to navigate the certain bureaucracies. And my honest opinion is the reason that these aren't adopted more widely is because it's way, way, way harder to get states to adopt them statewide because of this conundrum of difficulty. Even in this case, like, I appreciate you all bringing this back up, but it did seem like maybe that it was our application was even lost or misplaced too, just by accident. Just random things happen, and so we are working hard at getting these adopted, but we're also trying to keep our day jobs going as well. And so this has a lot to do with it, and also its placement in the IRC too. We could speak more about the how materials come up in the process of maybe I'll just leave that be. But I do want to state that process and difficulty of process has a lot to do with why these aren't adopted elsewhere, and that the steps forward that you could make to, I know it might carry a burden of review of new material for a jurisdiction, but it does bring opportunity to the residents of that area in order to build with these materials that a lot more people are being drawn to, and would be drawn to if there was a easier and legal pathway to permitting them. So I just encourage the assistance that you would be making in order, and by mandating its use statewide in Washington, would be very relevant to the desires of those community members.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ken?
Are you ready for a motion yet, Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion that 24-GP1-015, and I'm going to say -R1 because that's what's on the agenda. I make a motion that not move forward in the process.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a discussion? And anyone who wants to have discussion, can we please make sure that we're raising our hand if we want to speak, please?
I'll just continue. I just think
yes.
everything that was brought up with regards from the jurisdictions, that it's just not ready right now for the entire state of Washington to adopt all of these appendices now. And I also do not see how this is widely used in other states right now. I understand that there's a difficult process to go through, but I think it needs to be vetted more. I do believe an AHJ has the ability to accept any type of construction going through alternate materials and methods, and they can do that individually. But I just don't think it's ready yet. Thank you.
Right. Quinn?
Yeah, so the reason I seconded the motion of not moving this forward is because nothing right now is stopping this kind of construction from happening. Like I said, I've approved 2 of them already back in Pierce County, and every single one of them are going to be engineered IBC structures anyways, except for BJ. And BJ, I don't think is ready for prime time yet, just because we have to look at it some more. And kind of like what I said earlier, and Micah reinforced it, is that a lot of the stuff that we're approving prescriptively is going to be statewide. Cities would have a difficult time modifying it on their own. So I think, like Ken said earlier, it's just not ready yet for prime time.
Okay. Ken, did you still have something? Or did you? Okay. And okay. Are comments just the take? Okay, yeah, Joshua, please.
Yeah, I'll just make one final comment. In my opinion, we are going to get less consistency if we don't have some kind of document to point to. I see there are some minor flaws, but just leaving up to each individual jurisdiction, I'll say the variability across the quality of review in jurisdictions varies a lot across the state. I'm much less concerned about some of the more robust jurisdictions, but some of the less robust jurisdictions will let people get away with murder without these kinds of things in place. And I disagree with that assertion. I also would like to just have people consider, why is there a need for each individual city to amend these as they see fit? That seems counterintuitive to everything else we do. That's my comment, and I'll hop off. Thank you.
Okay. Patrick?
Wouldn't adopting these appendices make it easier for jurisdictions to process applications or submittals using these materials, because it gives them consistent code language to look for and to verify, instead of just having to go through alternative means and materials every single time?
Yeah.
That can be a rhetorical question, or if somebody wants to answer.
Yeah, Patrick, I'll answer that one. So right now, nothing is stopping jurisdictions from even using the appendix. So what I did at Pierce County was, from a structural standpoint, they use the IBC, right? But from the life safety standpoint, we still allowed we looked at these appendices. So nothing is really stopping these kind of projects from moving forward. And then, like I said, the appendices are there for guidance, but to make it mandatory where we have to be specific in every single line item, it doesn't give building officials the authority to have much wiggle room. You know what I'm saying? So, as an appendices, that's not a mandatory adoption. We could, kind of interpret it the way we want it to. I think it's harder to make a more gray interpretation if we make this a mandatory.
Question, Dustin. We have a motion on the floor. Are we still taking public comment?
Yeah, we can take public comment during the motions.
Okay. Then Martin.
I just wanted to clarify one thing regarding other states adopting one or more of these appendices. The straw bale appendix has been adopted statewide in California, Oregon, New Mexico, New Jersey, Maryland, and in counties and cities in Colorado and Arizona. The light straw clay appendix has been adopted in New Mexico, Oregon, New Jersey, and Maryland. The hemp lime appendix, which is the newest one, it's made its first appearance in the 2024 IRC, was recently adopted in the state of Minnesota. So it's on everyone's new horizon at the moment. And just to reiterate what I said earlier, all things considered, and there are pros and cons, I suppose. Well, there always are pros and cons, but all things considered, in our experience in California, having used the appendix, the straw bale appendix for since the 2016 California residential code. There's 10 years of use of it with no problems that I'm aware of. And the others, I think, are similar. I just feel, again, all things considered, that there are more reasons to adopt than to not adopt statewide. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Talking to myself. I think Ben's hand was up first.
Yeah, Ben Mosher, architect. Just speaking from a practitioner's perspective, while it's true that there's nothing, if these are to remain appendices outside of the adopted code, nothing to prevent a local jurisdiction from allowing their use. My experience has been, it's pretty much a coin flip. The more sophisticated jurisdictions will consider them, but there's frequently a perception that if the appendix has not been adopted at the state level, then it should not be usable at all. That's a barrier that we come across quite a bit. And unfortunately, when it comes to any sort of innovative material like this that doesn't have a well-funded lobby that can pursue these adoptions, we get into this kind of cycle of deferral where the local jurisdictions don't want to allow their use because they're not adopted at the state level. And then we frequently hear in the state adoption hearings that the materials aren't used enough to justify their adoption. Thank you.
Micah.
Thanks, Chair. I appreciate the proponents bringing these forward. I think if they don't make it through the process as shown where it's mandatory for the entire state, that maybe the other option would be that they're adopted by the state as optional to be included in individual jurisdictions' ordinances. I think you would get several jurisdictions that would support adopting these as proposed in their jurisdiction without having to further go to the state. It was what that does. It allows this prescriptive language that you're showing to be adopted by that jurisdiction without having to go back through the SBCC process, which is the current RCW requirements. So that may be another path, but I appreciate the robust discussion and I appreciate them bringing these forward. I do think there are states that are adopting these and moving forward with them, but I think there's too many issues or small nuances here. And I know that's why a lot of questions were raised from various jurisdictions, especially about engineering and different items that point back to the rest of the prescriptive code that aren't clear. And I think that's where the concern would lie. Even if we adopted these as mandatory, that there would still be a lot of outstanding questions where the design proponents actually indicated themselves that they would still design these as a performance approach or in an accepted engineering practice. So you would still get that same issue that you're talking about of inconsistent review of a designed product, whether or not it's irrelevant or relevant to the prescriptive standard that's adopted. So I don't think adopting these as prescriptive would solve that issue of reviewing consistently of a designed package. So I think there's maybe some alternate path here, but that would be adopting these without the mandatory language where it would just be or remain an optional use by the jurisdiction, but still technically adopted by the state without having to go back by the jurisdiction to the SBCC. I know there's a lot of technical legal nuance in there, but there is an optional path forward if it's not approved or if this motion carries.
Annie?
Is that something we could do here and now if in fact this motion fails? By simply changing our 102.5 to include the additional 3 appendices that aren't mentioned already in the exceptions?
I believe, yeah, Dustin?
So currently in the IRC, we have Appendix T, AWV, Y, and Z. That's solar ready provisions, fire sprinklers, construction and demolition, material management, and building deconstruction. Those are all have amendments and created by the state of Washington. They are not adopted for statewide implementation. And so a jurisdiction can come through and decide to adopt that. And the only requirement that they interact with the SBCC at all on that is just a notification that they are adopting that appendix by their ordinance. And we could do that with this one, with these appendices as well. I would say we would change, we wouldn't need to change 5151.003 as a result of that. But I think that the adoption by ordinance statement should change to reflect it, notification are available for adoption by local jurisdictions with notification to the SBCC.
And Patrick?
Yeah, thanks, Micah, for bringing that up. I'll say I generally don't say a lot of good things about codes, I guess, in here, but the one good thing is it can provide consistency across the state and across jurisdictions and allow builders and architects to know with clear expectations what they need to do. And I think this is a case where having this kind of language approved to some degree will provide for a lot of consistency and make it easier to use these products and systems across the state. If the tag's not in favor of doing a mandatory statewide adoption, I'm opposed to the motion as it stands. I would be in favor of doing what Mike suggested and amending the language to have it be an optional appendix or appendices that local jurisdictions can adopt. Just that way we have co-language that we've looked over and works for the state that jurisdictions can use to make it so people can start using these products more easily without going through alternative means and methods. Thank you.
Okay, Todd?
Thank you, Chair. So I don't know if it's a concern, but if you're going to vote in the negative on this, let's make sure it doesn't trigger 19.27033, Section 3, which is the if a petition for amendment referred to technical advisory group must be approved by a majority of the technical advisory group to be taken up for consideration by the State Building Code Council. So if your intent is to change it to an optional, maybe the request is someone can help us navigate through that. Thanks.
I think that just
Yeah.
says it has to be approved. So
Yeah, I think
not necessarily
if
whether
we-
it's rejected or not, as long as we approve some version.
Yeah, I think if the motion passes as stated, then we would need another motion to change these to optional appendices adopted by the state. And I believe that would then be moving them forward because they would still, I think, then they'd still need to go to public comment hearings and everything like that as some form that's being adopted.
So Angela, just to clarify, because right now the motion on the table is to reject these appendices for mandatory adoption. If that motion passes, we could do another motion
Yes.
okay.
To adopt them as whatever it's called, optional appendices, just like the fire sprinkler appendices or any of those that
Got it. Okay.
basically, yeah. Okay. So is there any more discussion on this before we take a vote?
One more hand on the attendees from Ashley.
I thank you. Appreciate everybody's insight and a willingness to consider this. I think this is a good choice for Washington. I just wanted to put it out for the record that I think this coincides with RCW that speaks to life safety and public welfare mandates throughout the state, as well as policy that is brought out by Buy Clean, Buy Fair. We're able to be sustainable in our own nature right here for Washingtonians with the best interest in mind, with minimum risk, but more gains. And we can continue to lead as a state that does really good things, really green things in regard to public safety as well as health and wellness in many regards. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think there are some RCW as well as policy stuff that really coincides that really would give a lot of lift to this as well as adoption, as well as giving a lot of options to folks within the state who are looking for this. As we've heard from testimony from individuals who currently build on the GC and contracting and planning. A lot of these are currently sought after and tried to. So if we can have a consistent method and process for them to be able to have this, I think this we'll see more of it. It will proliferate for better, greener adoption and allow for us to build better in our built environment. I thank you all for your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're probably ready for a vote. I don't need to do a roll call, do I?
We don't have to, but I know that we
Yes,
have
from
some
hearing
dissension
both
on this one.
sides. Yeah, we might
So-
want to. Yeah, let's do a roll call vote.
All right, Quinn Ty
Yes to the motion.
and yes vote is a motion to deny moving this forward as a mandatory appendix.
Correct.
All right, Patrick Hanks,
No.
Ken Brulette,
Yes.
Josh Mergens,
Nay.
Mariko Blessing,
Yes.
Jonathan Jones,
Yeah.
Annie O'Rourke.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes 5-2.
All right. Do we have another motion that anyone would like to propose?
So this is Quinn. I'll make a motion to what was that? Other option again? Where it's
Make
not
'em
mandatory.
Ready to adopt appendixes.
Yeah, ready to adopt appendices.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a first, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion on the motion?
Is the motion to just amend it or to approve and amend it?
It's to make it
Ready adopt appendix.
so, yeah, so we're not amending anything in the language. We're just amending the motion to allow jurisdictions to adopt it as is.
You mean as shown on the screen
Correct, right?
with the amendments proposed?
Yeah, yeah, of the changes that we made today.
But is the motion just to make that change, or do we want to approve it and make that change?
Do we need to approve it first?
You don't have to approve it. It's just, do we want to take 2 votes or 1 vote?
But yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm asking Dustin, do we need to do both or one?
We can do it as one, and I'm attempting to make the language change right here, and then I can make it globally across all 4 appendices.
Okay,
Ken?
so I'll do it as one
Sorry.
motion to do both. That we adopt what we did today, the amendments that we did today, and to make it ready for adoption by local jurisdictions.
Ken?
Does I want to make sure. So you're ready to add in E throughout all of the documents?
Yes, all of the documents are on this one. E's been added to everything except for BJ 105.2. And then this I would have to copy into the other 3 appendices besides what I have on the screen right here.
Was that in revision 1? All of the additions, or just the E, which is added in today's meeting?
The E was added in today's meeting, and now what I have on the screen here shown with the track changes is being added.
So
It's in
okay.
addition to R1. So R1 was shown and then we revised R1, revision 1.
This will become R2 is what we would be
Yep.
approving here today.
But we don't have a document that shows all of our changes. You're just doing it on the fly.
Correct. The
All
bulk
right.
of the changes are in documents posted for today. The document on the screen or on the meeting for what we're working with right now is this R1 MH edits document. This one shows the a couple different changes that Martin was depicting. We got the International Building Code switched to Washington Building Code. We have the uh, fire resistance assembly rating in the appendix BL, and then I know I'm missing one.
Energy code. There's energy code and then special inspections.
Yeah, the energy code was in all the documents that are posted on here, and then the special inspections are the 3rd item added in the MH edits. So I've been working the MH edits document, and in it is added the or the seismic design category E for 3 of the appendices, and then showing on screen before I got over here is this one, which I'm ready to copy into all of the appendices.
Would it be helpful to maybe go through the document really quick and show what you did change today?
Yeah, be happy to. Let me get this
Annie,
loaded.
sorry, while we're talking, Annie, did you have something else?
So by doing it this way, Dustin, where you're introducing this ready to adopt text under the appendix name, we do not need to make any modification to R102.5 exception 1.
I don't believe so.
Because in there it mentions straw bale construction, like straw clay or straw bale construction is one of those appendices that is ready to adopt. And so it seems appropriate that we'd be adding the other 3 to 102.5 exception 1.
That would be a relevant change. Let me pull that language onto the screen for everybody.
Patrick?
I was also just going to make sure he goes up and edits WAC 5151-003.
Okay.
So, with the change we're making right now, I don't think a change in WAC 5151-003 is needed because they're not adopted statewide, but this one in 102.5 is relevant.
I meant unchange it because I thought you had changed it before, but if you hadn't changed it.
No, I got it dropped in there to start making the changes, and I didn't ever get back to it. So let me pull out 5151-003. Something deletion. All right, so these appendices, B So it's Appendix I, J, K, and L. Let me make this more clear.
And then I'll revise my motion to include this change that you're making right now. Adding the appendix to 102.5.
And it would require some additional verbiage up here, just to make it the same as everything we else have in here is the naming of the appendices kind of not right in front of each appendix letter. I can type that in there now, if we want, but it's also something I can clean up after this meeting.
Yeah, it's just a coding correlation issue at that point.
Yeah.
There's an attendee with their hand up.
Oh, David.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out there's something in the ready to, it says are ready to adopted for use. So something either it should say to be adopted or ready to adopt. Anyway,
The ED is a track change for everybody to see that that's red strikeout language.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay. So okay, great. That just a minor thing. So
thank you.
Okay.
So do I need a second for my revised motion to include 102.5?
Yeah, whoever the second was, did they agree? I guess.
I chimed in as a second, but I think there was another second as well. I'm fine with what you're doing.
Okay.
I can triple if it's helps.
All right, so running through the changes made to the documents posted online today. So we just added this 102.5 amendment to make it clear that these appendices are available to be adopted with just notification to the SBCC. Staff will finish the correlation into here to name these appendices in this section above.
BJ's in there twice, and I think you're missing BK.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. And then Ken, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so are we amending the proposals for the 2024 IRC, right? 102.5?
Yes.
And the 2024 International Residential Code 102.5, is that the correct?
Let me double check.
I'm looking at 102.5 and the 24 is partial and validity. Am I looking at this wrong?
Probably not. Yes, so you've got that right. Give me a moment. Micah, you got your hand up?
I was going to say, I think Ken is corrected. I think it should be R101.2.1. But I could be wrong. We can verify, but I think that's what Ken's alluding to.
That's accurate. So I'll have to double check this one. We should have another code change going on this one to bring this into the correct location with the previous work done by this tag. But just for clarity's sake, we're going to change this to 101.2.1.
Yeah, all the language is wrong in there. It's different than 24. So,
but we have a state amendment on this one, so this one might be carrying forward.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. We specifically amended the language itself. So looking at the 24 code language, I don't see a need to change that.
If we have a code change proposal already by this tag for this section, we should go back into that code change proposal, should we not?
No,
And
no, it's not a code change proposal by the tag. It's an existing code change already that's carried over. So it's not a new, other
got it.
than what we're adding.
There it is. This is the 2018 online version, or sorry, 2021 online version. So this is existing state amendment. We've done some other stuff here, but this is talking about all the other appendices that we have going on there. So yeah, we're just trying to make the amendment to bring in these appendices as ready to adopt by local jurisdictions.
Okay, well, just understand that the 24 code just has the word specifically adopted, and in our language, it doesn't. It says referenced in the adopting ordinance, so there is a language issue. In the charging language, provisions in the appendices shall not. The 24 code states provision in the appendices shall not apply unless specifically adopted, period. And that's not what it shows here.
Wish this wouldn't, there you go.
That's because that's base language.
Yeah, so here in the issue, Ken, is that specifically adopted and adopting ordinance is different. And I think the issue you're painting exists for the 2021 code right now, because we do have appendices that are adopted by 5151003, but then it says all these appendices are not quite ready there. And I wish it wouldn't jump around when I moved the screen to different sizes.
No,
There you
I'm
go.
just bringing up just an editorial issue that the red should, if we're
Oh,
going to
show it
make
in red.
changes, yeah, if we're going to make changes in the 24, Quinn
I hear
mentioned
you.
that it's gonna get updated. We might as well make sure it says the right thing that we're crossing out and changing.
I think that's like editorial in nature
But
when
we've always missed the editorial over the years, and so I'm trying to get it straight now, because otherwise people are not going to fix it, because people just aren't going to fix it. Get it straight during the code change process, then we hope that it gets transmitted correctly into the WAC.
Just a moment here.
So I think for our intent and purposes, the language that's currently in the 21 is better than the model language in the 24, because I do like that we're referencing in black in the adopted ordinances. Um, so I think that's a better language for what we're trying to do with the appendices, if that makes sense.
So this shows text in red as the existing state amendment. The strikeout blue text that I have on there shows the change from the 2024 code to what's existing in the state amendment. And then the track changes that are on here are showing the location change from 1025 to 101.2.1, and then also the inclusion of the 4 appendices that are included in this document.
And I'm good with that.
Okay. And then for this one, I'm gonna load that one up. So just to re-review the stuff we've done here today, we hashed out the R101.2.1 for the 2024 code. We have changed the provisions contained in this appendix are ready to adopt for use by local jurisdictions in the state of Washington statement, and I'll update that as we go through the remaining appendices. Here in 101.1, we have added seismic design category E to the scoping of this appendix. In this appendix, BI 103.6, we've added a special inspections provision. And then in BI 104, staff went through and changed the references from Chapter 11 references to State Energy Code references. We're here in Appendix BJ now. I'm changing this one to reflect the one that we had up top. And then that's shown as all so let's see. Struggling with the track changes to make it all apparent. Give me one moment. Back to the top. Grab this.
Was that for me?
Okay. Okay. That's not colorized, but I do believe it shows the changes for the group. And as I do finalize this draft, I'll make sure it's matching to the top one. We have here changes to the climate zone listings for state of Washington. More climate zone changes and Washington Energy Code references. We have another special inspection section here in Appendix BJ. And let me run back. I believe BJ 105 was the one where we did not change any seismic design category language. 105.2. I'm wrong. It's the next appendix. So change from international code to Washington state code. Same here. With the statement there updated. Here's the one where we didn't change the seismic design categories to add E. You have the changes of the climate zones and references to Chapter 11 updated to be Washington Energy Code specific. Special inspections for Appendix BK. A change from International to Washington State Code. Same thing. Same thing. Have changes for the Energy Code references. We changed or added seismic design category E to BL. Have changes for the Energy Code references for climate zones. Special inspections again for BL. And then the fire resistance rating new language added in here. And we have more Energy Code references. And that is a quick review of the changes from the original proposal to today's starting document and also including today's changes.
All right. So do we have any further discussion on the motion? Ken?
Is this going to be called revision 2 then when you're documenting this?
Yes.
So the motion has revision 2 in it?
Correct.
Would that be a friendly amendment, Quinn, to
Yep.
approve ready to approve to adopt appendices R2?
Yep. And I think Annie and Patrick were okay with that too.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, so the motion is to approve these appendices as ready to adopt appendices. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, that motion passes. Phew. So I think that means that number 5 on the agenda, the 24-GP1-017 is no longer needed. Is that correct? That's the hemp line construction on its own.
Yep. Well, I guess I would leave that to Ashley Stallworth, who's the proponent on that one. That one is included here as a standalone appendix. And Ashley, are you satisfied with the turnout of the proposal 015 that contains all of them as a ready to adopt by local jurisdictions appendix, or do you want the tag to entertain this one as a adopt statewide as just the hemp lime one?
Appreciate the option. I appreciate passing at least for local jurisdiction. I think it's a good call. Don't want to get greedy, so to speak, but it was set up strategically that in case all were to fall, we could at least see if there was one that could stand alone for statewide adoption, especially since we have a robust industrial hemp program here that has commerce support as well as policy support. If it could be quick, obviously with all of the things considered that has been heard in testimony from professionals, from policy, code officials, etc., if we could do one pass over for an attempt to bring this to a statewide adoption, I would be open to that without eating too much time up.
Is there...
that up.
Any discussion on this?
It didn't seem like there was enough appetite for a statewide adoption, and we've been putting off discussing the last proposal for the other meeting, so I think we should probably prioritize that.
Gotcha for the modular. I respect that. I respect the floor. Thank you, Patrick. And yeah,
Okay, so do we need a motion on that then, Dustin, or?
All the other ones do have a motion, so we should make a motion to deny this one moving forward.
Can I get a motion for that?
Well, do we need to? Because my proposal earlier included BL as a,
Right.
so I don't know
But
if we need.
Can we
This
just
one
table
was to
indefinitely?
adopt it.
yeah, I think we can table it.
I'll make a motion to table indefinitely.
Second.
Okay, do we have any further discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor of tabling indefinitely signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, that passes. What time does this meeting go to?
We have it scheduled for another 3.5 minutes.
Oh, okay, I thought you were gonna say hours. I was like, wait, what? It's not on my schedule. All right, so then I'm thinking that we're probably gonna need to do the the number 6 in our next meeting and hopefully accomplish that in one final meeting.
Yeah. Unless somebody wanted to make a motion to this one at all, but that's unheard of not talking about it first.
I've got 30 minutes if we want to let if the proponent's still on, they can speak to it, and then we can try to give them some feedback before the next meeting.
I am available to extend.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we extend this meeting 30 minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, it's Ken. I need to drop off at 3, so I won't be available.
Okay,
This is Josh Mergens. I will also need to drop off at 3.
will we still maintain a quorum?
I think we should. Yeah, with those 2 seats dropping off, we'll be okay.
Is anybody else gonna have to drop off?
This is Dan. I need to drop off, but I'm not part of the quorum, so.
So it depends on how long this discussion lasts, because I do
30
need.
minutes. We're doing till 3:30.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of extending 30 minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion passes. We'll extend for 30 minutes. We will start the discussion on item number 6 on modules and modular components. I think, Todd, is that yours?
I'm not the proponent, but I volunteer to represent them in my material seat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think Erica's on here. So could you
Sure.
explain?
So this is a manufacturing petition. It is intended to directly mirror what is going through at the ICC level for 2027. So this is bringing it 3 years forward. Very quickly, it is adopting reference standards that have been developed over the last, I want to say 5 or so years. They're listed at the bottom there. So it is in the IRC. It is going through both the IRC and the IBC at the ICC level. But this is an IRC petition. It did not make it in time. It was not far enough along in the ICC process to make the IBC package. So there will be a question, if adopted, on whether this is a correlation and necessary in the IBC. But for today's purposes, this is IRC. The language is the same. In blue there, it's a little unusual how to represent it. You just simply put the IBC section and the different section title that'd be in there. Dustin and Angela, I sent the one proposed change in the definition of modular component. That was the most recent change in committee action hearing 2. And it was simply to, because the two proposals at the ICC level had different definitions for whatever reason. So they simplified it down to the IRC version. So I matched that in that email I sent you a few weeks ago. And then I just completed a Word document if you actually want to show that on the screen while that was not included in the package. But it's very simple. And I think, there you go. Again, breaking all conventions here, using colors and so forth, but it just simply crosses out those elements. So, any questions on the actual content? The standards are by ICC, MBI. I guess MBI would be Modular Building Institute. They're speaking from memory here. 1200 is more of the design standard. 1205 is more for the enforcement and jurisdiction adoption. And I believe 1210 focuses more on MEP. I know I'm not going into depth on that, but I think I'll stop there. You can see the language below in the description if you scroll down after you're done there. I put it word for word in the ICC proposal and then added some kind of state context in blue for the proponent.
Okay. Ken?
Okay, one quick question. Are these considered structures? And the reason I ask that is just in the fire code, applying the residential code. And the only way I can use the fire code for like fire flow requirements access, it says structures. So are these considered structures?
I'm not sure if I fully understand, Ken. I mean, yes. I mean, these are, so just as a little more context, I don't know if this helps, Ken. There's a current bill in the legislature to help L&I. My interpretation is adopt these standards also in their rulemaking. So this is trying to align with that by putting it also in the code. I don't think that answers your question though. Are they structures?
Yeah, I'm just trying to just scope. I was just because the code again says where structures are designed and constructed in accordance with the IRC, then the provisions of the fire code can apply. So I just want to make sure that these aren't outside the scoping of a structure, which it sounds to me like they're not. So I think I'm good.
Okay. Ken, with your expertise, real quick, if this did get adopted in the IRC, do you think this triggers then correlation with IBC?
Well, I'm just looking at the fire code and how it applies to the residential code. There's a section in 102.5 in the fire code that talks about application of the residential code. And so if something's built under the residential code, we can apply certain provisions of the fire code to structures.
Got it.
I just want to make sure these are considered structures. So, and if they are, then we're fine.
Okay. Thanks. So just if you scroll down now, just to complete that thought, the justification, it's in the packet there. So the ICC reason, and then I think at the bottom I put in blue some context.
Ty, or Nisha, Ty. Sorry.
Thanks, Angela. So my question is, are we going to be stepping on toes for L&I? They usually do manufactured home prefab stuff. So by adding this to the IRC, are we digging into some of their stuff?
If I may, Chair, no, this has been coordinated with them. I've met multiple times with them in other forums, and they're aware that we're pushing this through also. In fact, I think it could help them if they're able to reference this in when they do plan review from the actual codes but they are asking for a rulemaking authority to also put it in their rules.
My question is, this is for basically pre-manufactured parts of a structure. It's not a modular structure like L&I currently has jurisdiction over, right? It's just basically like having the wall sections pre-done and brought in. Is that correct?
Yeah. So part of that question, Angela, as you know, for everyone is, L&I has authority, to my understanding, over the six-sided boxes, let's call it that, volumetric modular, and when they do complete plan review and inspection and so forth. There is a gap where components and assemblies that in factories, it's a challenge. It's up to the jurisdiction to determine, to work with jurisdiction how to do that inspection. This brings standards in so that there's the ability, it's easier for the jurisdiction. Still has the authority. Obviously, this isn't short circuiting any of that, but is trying to put a standard around how you would do that in a factory. Dustin, can you scroll up, please?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just easier to look at the actual language, but. I think that's all I have. Sorry, I don't have video for some reason, but you've hopefully seen me enough.
Patrick?
How would a building official verify that a modular component was manufactured in compliance with these standards if L&I hasn't adopted a process to confirm that?
I missed maybe that first part of that, Patrick.
How would a building official verify that the modular components were manufactured in compliance with these standards? Would there be a stamp? Would there be a certification that comes with it?
I don't know that I can speak wholly to that actual process. I do know the standards. I do know the design guideline that comes with it. I probably am not the expert in that. I will say that throughout this whole process, we have confirmed with L&I that they agree they do not have jurisdiction over panelization and don't necessarily think that's in their capacity to do so, even if they're given that authority, if that made sense. So I think the most common example here that I always use is this closed panel, a stick frame wall, panelized wall. Right now, it's common to have open wall where it's inspected on site. This now brings some structure and reference standards, in that process, whether it's, in this case, it would be third-party review or the jurisdiction actually in the factory. And if anyone thinks I said something incorrect there, please help.
Quinn?
Sorry, I'm trying to wrap my head around this one. So my first question is, how is this? This might cause some confusion with modular homes with this modular or modules component. Because right now we allow modular homes because they are constructed off-site under the IRC. So when we get those projects in, we also get the plans in to review them as IRC structures. For this one, I recently had one done in Tacoma, and we asked them to get special inspections because it's off-site, where we have no jurisdiction to, we actually did send one of our inspectors out there on occasion. But it's one of those things where it's going to be really difficult for some smaller jurisdictions to go out to, let's say, Bellingham or somewhere they're constructing it, and then so I think this is a hard one. I mean, I understand the need for it, but in terms of enforceability, I think it'll be really difficult. Let me think on this one some more.
And Chair, if I may. Yeah, Quinn, yeah, it's exactly it. It's as we've gone through this process and learned how this can work in the state of Washington, and we as a collective, it's not just the Building Code Council. We've tried to I've tried to be engaged with other groups and entities like the King County Housing Development Consortium. I think that's what they call the HDC. That's kind of it's been another forum where this has been discussed. And in that, I think it leans heavily on third party review, say an ICCES or a UL or other third party certification that would have to be, coordinated with the jurisdiction and accepted. So again, my understanding, and I say this in confidence, this does not challenge or preempt home rule authority of the jurisdiction. But it also falls outside, a lot of this falls outside of the authority that L and I would have.
Micah?
Thanks, Chair, for being recognized. And Todd, thanks for discussing this. I know it's not your proposal. I'll have to admit, I voted against this at the committee level ICC for CH1 and CH2 this cycle, based on the fact that there's some nuances in here that shouldn't be in the code for the code official to regulate. One of those is actually in 301.1.5. We're regulating the transportation of these. That is not our role. I think I brought this up at the committee action. I think there's a video of it you can watch. That is not the code official's role to regulate, identify, whatever, the transportation of these modules or modular components. Then another item that was brought up the committee action hearing talked about the inspections, and this doesn't point you to the appropriate sections for special inspections when you get down to 301.1.5.1, item 2, and the exceptions. Those items weren't addressed at the code hearings, and there is some testimony against those. So I would like that to maybe further evaluated, but definitely, if anything, we need to take out transportation. Code officials aren't going to look at that. They're not going to regulate it. It shouldn't be in there. Thanks.
Micah, where is that again? I'm sorry to interrupt, Chair.
No worries. If you go back up to 301.1.5, this covers the transportation of these. We're not covering that in the code, or should not be covering that in the code.
I'll start raising my hand, Chair.
If they're talking directly to you, it's fine. There you go. Thanks.
Okay, that's interesting, Micah. So what I can do if depending on what the tag wants to do, whether you want to table this one, and because I'm happy to bring this back, and also the ICC representative has expressed to me willingness to come talk through any of this or help any amendments. So if that's a desire, I can bring that back to both the proponent and to the ICC level.
Micah, did you have another one?
I just put my hand up. Todd, it's entirely up to the tag on this. Again, it was moved forward. I don't think there was many modifications at the national level, so probably as it's shown, it's going to go into the code, but that doesn't mean it's clean and accurate. But I did want to voice that I did vote against it at the committee action hearings on the committee. Thanks.
Annie?
The reference standards in chapter 44, the MBI 1210 that talks about MEPs also talks about energy efficiency. Could you give us a little background on what they're actually requiring in this document that, and whether or not it jives with our state energy code?
Again, I'm probably not the expert to do that, but I can raise that question. If you scroll down, thank you, Ann. So you're getting into I see, because it lists energy efficiency in there.
Correct. I just don't know what it says. I haven't looked at that document.
Yeah. I guess I've never thought of it as preempting the rest of our codes, but I think it's a valid question how that's addressed.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily preempting, but it's just that since it's a closed system, they're certifying that it's meeting our code. So, yeah.
Somebody's certifying it's meeting our code.
Yeah. Patrick?
Yeah, I generally don't love bringing things forward, trying to jump a cycle. I think it creates extra work for us when we review existing amendments and then trying to compare significant changes. However, I have heard from builders that are very interested in being able to have like panelized walls or components that are stamped and approved and they can just immediately use, especially if it can incorporate energy code compliance. However, I think this is a very tricky area where until we get sort of everything regulatory, statutory moving on the same page, allowing L&I to stamp and inspect and have a stamp that it meets the state codes, and then local jurisdictions can just quickly approve it. I think this is going to be like really messy, and probably not to solve as many problems as we hope. And I took a little bit look at the ICC 1210 there, and it's pretty vague on what they're looking for. It just references that these different things shall be tested to the ICC. So, I mean, unless our state moves to doing a minimal adoption of the model codes, which would be great and fantastic, I don't, I feel like that all this would do is it would create a bunch of work that jurisdictions aren't going to do or feel qualified to do to try to inspect the entire manufacturing and transportation process for these components. And then the reference standards are referencing the model codes, but we have a bunch of custom state amendments. So at the end, I don't think it's going to end up resulting in what we'd like, which is you have something that's been approved and inspected and certified, and that they can just look and check for a stamp and then move along. So that's I'm not sure if that's fixable via amendments. I would like to see something like this move forward in the state, but I think it's going to take a broader effort to get all the different components on the same page.
Todd, sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And again, up to the will of the tag here, I can bring these back and get more clarification. I didn't anticipate some of these questions, so this is, as it's moving through the model code and will be likely in the 2027 code, but also this is also language that other states have adopted. And granted, not all have the same format we do. Some are adopted administratively in policy in policy rather than in actual code. So there is a mixed approach to how state by state how these get incorporated. But we're not alone, is what I'm saying here.
Quinn?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I do agree that we do need to get ahead of this because if the national level does end up adopting it, obviously, we heard from testimony here that there are some issues that we would have from Washington. So I think for this meeting, we're trying to provide feedback. We're not saying drop the proposal. So the two concerns that I would like to get addressed is the inspection portion of it. How will smaller jurisdictions, in such a manner where they can be comfortable approving something, even if they don't have the capacity to do the inspection? Is it whether by third party, or is it whether by L&I stepping in to help out with some kind of stamp, kind of like a red, yellow, or green type of tag? And the energy code, I think we could just say, like in this first sentence there, in addition to other applicable, like per, basically pointed back to the WAC, like other parts of the WAC, as long as it meets all the other codes in our state amendments, state codes, then it's fine. So those are the little things that I could see offhand to provide some feedback, and then maybe we could come back and look at it some more on revisions.
Yeah, I just wanted to point, like in the standards, I was just looking at 12, MBI 1210, section 404 for plumbing. And it says that plumbing systems and components installed off-site shall meet the applicable requirements outlined in the IPC or IRC. We don't adopt the IPC. It also, I believe, in the energy conservation section refers to the IECC. So these are all things in these standards that would have to be addressed to make sure that the standards were actually referring to the codes that we use versus just the ICC codes that we don't actually adopt. So that's just something to keep in mind with these standards, also from what I was just quickly looking at. Quinn?
Yeah, thanks. Basically, I think along with what Angela is saying is that just make sure that whoever, this is basically just a copy and paste from the proposal at the model level, model code committee action. But basically just revise it to be more fitting for Washington, kind of like with the standards, kind of like what Micah said about transportation. Let's remove some of the line items there. But overall, I don't see a major overall issue other than some minor stuff that we could modify.
Well, if it's a will to tag, I will see these fine folks at IBS next week in Orlando, so I'm happy to give them homework.
We don't have authority to amend the reference standards though, right?
Well, we do, I believe so. So like in the IBC, we amend ASCE 7 all over the place.
Okay. So we would have to amend the reference standards.
Potentially, or I don't know, I think some people would just assume that reference to IPC means UPC, but I know that that's not straight clear, and assumption doesn't serve best clarity.
You know what they say about assuming.
I was gonna say it, but I didn't say it.
I will ask those questions if it's the will of the tag, and I'm happy to report back.
Yeah, I mean, if the tag would like to hear more on this at a next meeting, we could have a meeting in, I guess, 2 weeks.
I would
If you're
like
not,
to space it out about 2 weeks. We're anticipating an IBC meeting coming up next week. And having multiple tag meetings for me at this point and what we're trying to do with the code is distracting to say the least.
well, Todd also said he wasn't going to be seeing him until next week to
There
discuss
you
it in Orlando. So that would
Don't
be
we
us.
need to be getting code language like finalized, like
Yes.
preferably by now?
Yeah, but I mean, I think staff is working right now to get the CR whatever completed, and as long as we have this finished, I mean, yes, we do want to. And again, it's up to you guys. I'm just the chair. I'm just facilitating. So it's up to you guys if you want to table it and wait and get some feedback, or if you just think, you know what, this isn't ready right now, we'll wait. And there, I believe, is legislation coming in that could force our hands to do it out of cycle, or we just say whatever. So it's up to you guys what you want to do with it.
So this is Quinner. I mean, even if it's not this cycle, it's going to be the next cycle. I don't think it's going to go away. We do need to talk some more about this one, especially if it does get adopted at the 27 code. Um, so even if it's too late for the 24 code to be part of the 24, I think it's a continuing discussion we need to have to modify it if we were to adopt the 27 code cycle when that comes around. So I don't mind coming back in 2 weeks if that works for Dustin. That gives Todd some time to talk to the proponents.
Happy to.
I mean, it was too short. It was too short. We could always extend it out, and then it just won't come through the 24 cycle. But at some point, we can pre-establish something ahead of time for the 27.
Do we need a motion to table it or?
Yeah, so I'll table. I'm motion to table it for 2 weeks.
Second. Okay. I have a first and, or I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of tabling this till the next meeting signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, we will table it. And that takes us to, I don't know where I'm at. Oh, we have 4 minutes. If there was other business.
Thank you.
Not today.
Okay. Then I don't need a motion to adjourn, do I?
No.
All right. And we will do number 8 and we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you everyone for sticking around and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.